You are not alone in the dark. The things you fear, the shadows in the corner, the whispers in the silence, they are real. And here, at Night Terrors, we bring them to life. From cursed places to chilling true stories. From ghostly encounters to the horrors lurking in the unknown. We explore the depths of fear, one tale at a time. Fear is not just a feeling, it's a presence. And once you step into our world, there's no turning back. Subscribe now. But remember, some stories stay with you forever. Brace yourself. What I'm about to tell you is something I can barely comprehend myself. I don't even know if this is the right place to share it, but I have to. I have to tell as many people as possible. It's a compulsion now, an obsession. My family, my friends, even local news outlets. No one listens, no one understands, but maybe you will. It started years ago, back in 2012 or maybe 2013. I was in my mid-20s, living a simple, predictable life. A steady job, a girlfriend, now my fiancé, and a house passed down through generations. It was an old brick house, a relic among the more modern homes in our neighborhood. It sat on the edge of a vast, sprawling forest, an ocean of trees that seemed endless. As a kid, I played in those woods. As an adult, they became something else, something unknowable. The first time it happened, it was winter, a Sunday morning. I remember stepping outside, the crisp air biting my skin as I made my way to my truck. That's when I saw them, footprints in the snow. They led from the dark mouth of the forest, straight to the driver's side door of my truck, then back into the trees. Nothing more. No detours to the house, no wandering patterns, just a direct path. As if someone had come, stood by my vehicle, and then returned to the depths of the woods. I asked my girlfriend about it, but of course she wasn't responsible. There were no neighbors close enough to have wandered over. I tried to shake it off, but something about it didn't sit right. The woods had always felt familiar to me, safe. But for the first time in my life, I realized how much I didn't know about them. 2 years passed. The footprints became a memory, until they came again. It was 2015. This time, it wasn't just a few. The yard was covered in them. Tracks circled the house, pausing beneath windows, trailing along the walls. I remember standing frozen in the driveway, my breath a visible cloud in the cold air. Something, had been watching us. I didn't want to alarm my girlfriend, but I knew she needed to be aware. By the time I returned home from work, she had made a chilling discovery. She pointed to the tracks, her voice shaking. "There are no shoe prints," she whispered. "Whoever made these, they were barefoot." My blood ran cold, barefoot, in the snow, in the dead of winter. That night I called my father. He'd grown up in that house, lived there most of his life. He had never seen anything like it. He told me to grab my rifle and follow the tracks. My girlfriend wanted to call the police, but I knew it would be useless. What could they do? What crime had been committed? Trespassing? That wasn't enough to launch a manhunt. So I went alone. The tracks led deep into the woods, and for a while, it was just me and the sound of my own breathing. Then I reached a fork in the path. The footprints diverged into 2 sets, splitting in opposite directions. My stomach twisted. Was I tracking more than one person? Had someone doubled back to throw me off? Or worse, had something been carried? The possibilities made my skin crawl. The light was fading. I turned back. We called the police that night, But just as I'd predicted, they found nothing. By morning, fresh snowfall had erased all traces of the footprints. My girlfriend was terrified, but after that winter, nothing happened for years. We moved on, got engaged, started planning a life together. Then last January, it came back. The footprints. And this time, they didn't just circle the house. They led to the shed. I found the door slightly ajar. Inside, tools were missing. Things moved. Someone had been there. Someone had taken something. I was done waiting. I called my friend Theo. A seasoned hunter, he had better tracking skills than I did. More importantly, he had a thermal scope. If there was something out there, we were going to find it. We set out that afternoon. Hours passed as we followed the prints, deeper and deeper into the woods. And then, just like before, the tracks split. We followed one path, but it led nowhere. Then another dead end, and another. It was like whoever made the tracks wanted to confuse us, to lead us in circles. But the deeper we went, the clearer it became. This wasn't normal. The sun dipped below the trees, and visibility became scarce. Theo used his thermal scope, sweeping the darkness ahead. Then he froze. His arm shot out, stopping me in my tracks. "What?" I whispered. He didn't respond, just crouched behind a tree, staring through the scope. I tapped his shoulder. He handed me the rifle with shaking hands. I lifted it, peering through the scope, and I saw them. 4 figures, crouched in the snow. They were human, or at least they should have been. 2 large figures, hunched and unmoving, while 2 smaller ones clung to a nearby tree. The smaller ones twitched violently, their heads jerking in unnatural movements. They were eating something. I couldn't tell what, but the way their hands moved, tearing and pulling, it made my stomach churn. They had no clothes, no shoes, no warmth, just pale, raw skin exposed to the biting cold. Then, as if sensing us, the larger figures lifted the smaller ones onto their shoulders. Without a word, without a sound, they melted deeper into the forest. Theo and I didn't move, not for what felt like an hour. We sat hidden behind that tree, barely breathing until we were certain they were gone. When we made it back home, my fiancée was still awake. She knew, just from the looks on our faces, that whatever we had found, it was worse than she had imagined. The police searched the woods the next morning. They found nothing. The snow had swallowed the footprints once again, erasing any proof that they had ever been there. Winter is coming again, and I know they'll be back. I don't know why they target my house. I don't know what they want. But I know one thing for sure. They are watching, and they are waiting. And one day, they won't just disappear back into the woods. They will come closer. And this time, I don't think they'll leave. Last summer, I set out on what I thought would be the adventure of a lifetime, a solo trek through a major section of the Pacific Crest Trail. Hiking had always been my escape, my sanctuary. There was nothing like the feeling of solitude, the vastness of nature stretching endlessly in all directions. My plan was simple: park my car at the endpoint, hitch a ride to the trailhead, and hike back over the course of a little more than a week and a half. The first few days were perfect. The forest was exactly what I had hoped for: towering trees, winding paths, untouched wilderness. I was making great time, pacing myself well, stopping only when necessary. Every night I pitched my tent a little off the main trail to avoid any unwanted attention. Solo hikers can attract curiosity, and I wasn't looking to make any unexpected friends. Then, on the third night, everything changed. I woke abruptly in the middle of the night, my body rigid with a nameless, unshakable dread. It wasn't a sound that woke me. It was something else, something deeper, an instinct I couldn't explain but knew better than to ignore. I listened, nothing but the whisper of the wind threading through the trees. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling. I reached for my flashlight, unzipped the tent, and stepped out into the cold night air, my rifle firm in my grasp. I swept the beam of light around my campsite, illuminating the trunks of nearby trees, the undisturbed ground, my scattered belongings. Everything was still, and yet something was wrong. I turned to check my pack. That's when I noticed it. My wallet was missing. I emptied my bag, dug through every pocket, turned my tent inside out. Nothing. I told myself I must have dropped it somewhere, but a pit formed in my stomach. Losing it seemed unlikely. Too unlikely. Had someone been here? Had they unzipped my tent while I slept, reached inside, taken what they wanted, and left? And if they had, why hadn't I woken up? I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning I convinced myself it was an unfortunate mistake. I moved on. But over the next few days, things kept disappearing. Small things at first. A lighter, my Swiss Army knife, a few energy bars. The realization struck like a slow-moving horror, creeping into my thoughts until I could no longer deny it. I wasn't alone out here. Someone was following me. By the fourth day, paranoia had settled into my bones. The woods that had once felt like home now loomed over me, watching. I started hiking faster, stopping less. Every noise, every rustle in the underbrush sent a jolt through my nerves. I considered turning back, but I was already too far in. It wouldn't save me much time. I had no choice but to push forward, hoping that whoever or whatever was out there would lose interest. But they didn't. That night, I tied my tent shut from the inside. My rifle lay beside me, my grip tight on the stock. I forced myself to stay awake, to listen. Hours passed, silence, and then footsteps. Not the careless stomp of an animal, not the quiet shift of leaves in the wind. Deliberate, human. I held my breath. The steps circled my tent. Slow, calculated. My fingers trembled against the trigger of my rifle, but I didn't move. I couldn't. Minutes stretched into eternity. Then the footsteps retreated, fading into the woods. I didn't sleep that night. By morning, my hands were shaking so badly, I could barely pack my gear. I couldn't stay out there another night. I made the decision then and there. I wasn't stopping again. I would hike through the night if I had to. I had to get out of those woods. I hiked harder, faster, the weight of exhaustion pressing down on me. As the sun began to sink, I told myself I could make it. 2 hours, maybe less. I gritted my teeth and pushed on. Then I heard it, a sound behind me. Footsteps. I spun, flashlight trembling in my grip. The beam cut through the darkness just in time to catch movement, something ducking behind a tree. My blood turned to ice. I lifted my rifle, my voice sharp and shaking. "Come out." Silence. Then slowly, a figure stepped into the light. My stomach lurched. He was wearing my clothes. A pair of shorts I hadn't even realized were missing clung to his emaciated frame. His skin was scratched raw, his limbs long and unnatural, as if he'd been stretched out by years of malnourishment. A wild beard clung to his face, his hair a matted tangle. His eyes, God, his eyes, they were empty, hollow. He took a step toward me. I fired, a warning shot, just past his shoulder. The explosion shattered the silence. He flinched but didn't run. Not at first. He stood there, watching me, and for one heart-stopping moment, I thought he was going to keep coming. Then without a sound, he turned and sprinted into the trees, vanishing into the blackness. I didn't wait. I ran. I ran harder than I ever have in my life. The trail blurred beneath my feet. My chest burned. Every second I expected to hear footsteps behind me, to feel fingers clawing at my back. I didn't stop until I saw my car. I locked the doors, started the engine, and didn't look back. The police weren't much help. They searched the trail, but they found nothing. No signs of him, no tracks, no proof that anyone had been there at all. But I know what I saw, and I know he's still out there. Sometimes, late at night, I wake up with the same feeling I had in that tent, the unshakable sense that something is watching me. I check the locks 3, 4, 5 times before I can convince myself I'm safe. But deep down, I know I'm not. If you plan on hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, if you insist on going alone, be careful. Because out there, in the endless stretch of trees, someone is watching. And they don't want you to leave. They want you to stay forever. I apologize in advance if I get any details wrong, but this story has haunted me ever since my best friend told it to me. Even after hearing it multiple times, it still unsettles me in a way I can't shake. My friend's dad was a logger, a tree saw operator. If you've never seen one, a tree saw is a monstrous machine, capable of cutting down towering trees and slicing them into precise lengths. His job meant long, grueling hours, often spent alone in the deep secluded forests of the Blackwood Forest. He was paid by the number of trees he cut, not by the hour, so he pushed himself hard, sometimes working 16 to 20-hour days to finish jobs as quickly as possible. He had a partner named Marcus, another tree saw operator, and the two relied on radios to communicate, especially when working on opposite ends of the same job site. One year, Daniel and Marcus were assigned to a remote location deep in the Ridgeway Mountains. It took the company over 3 weeks just to clear a road wide enough for their trucks and equipment to access the site. By the time they started working, they were positioned in an area so remote it might as well have been another world. They were 10 days into the job when the strange voices started. At first it was nothing but faint, static-filled murmurs over their radios. Indistinct, garbled voices bleeding through the channels. They assumed it was interference, but the voices followed them, no matter how many times they switched frequencies. Anyone who has used a standard radio knows how impossible that is. As they pushed farther into the forest, the voices became clearer. Not complete sentences, just fragments. Enough to recognize that the tone sounded casual, conversational even. But the words were unintelligible, like pieces of a conversation not meant for them to hear. Then they started finding the signs, footprints in the dirt, abandoned containers, small makeshift campsites. This wasn't just wilderness. Someone had been there, recently. One afternoon, Marcus discovered a tent hidden just off a narrow path and called Daniel over. Reluctantly, they decided to investigate. Inside they found a single sleeping bag and a duffel bag filled with horrors, children's underwear, duct tape, rope, crude hand-drawn sketches of children, and worst of all, photographs. One of them showed an apple, fresh and untouched. Someone had been here. Maybe still was. Marcus wanted to leave immediately. My friend's dad, ever the workaholic, insisted they finish the job. They compromised, limit radio use to emergencies only and keep their heads down. That night, as they sat in their camper, Unable to shake the dread creeping into their bones, the radio crackled to life again. This time, they could make out snippets of a conversation. Two men, speaking in hushed tones about mundane things, collecting water, gathering firewood. But Daniel knew. These were the men from the tent. Marcus wasn't as shaken, but Daniel couldn't take it anymore. The next night, when the men spoke over the radio about gathering brush for a fire, he snapped. He grabbed his radio and demanded, "Who are you?" "What the hell are you doing here?" Silence. Dead, suffocating silence. And that was worse than the voices. Marcus was furious. "You just told them where we are." They argued, but neither of them slept that night. Then around midnight, Marcus shook Daniel awake. "Someone's outside." They listened. Soft footsteps, crunching the gravel outside. Slow. Deliberate. My friend's dad fumbled for his gun, his hands shaking, his pulse pounding. But when he reached for the ammunition, it was gone. The box was missing. A sudden quiet click. The camper door handle jiggling. A long, agonizing creak as the door nudged open just an inch. Then something new. A sound that sent ice through their veins. Scratching. Long, deliberate scratches along the outside of the camper. Marcus hauled Daniel into the truck, his face slick with blood, and they sped down the treacherous mountain road. 2 hours of agonizing silence, the darkness pressing in on them. At the hospital, the damage was worse than they thought. His face was a ruined mess. A deep gash ran across his right eye, permanently damaging his vision. The police were called, reports were filed, but no one was ever caught. 2 weeks later, as the rest of the logging crew finished the job, they found one of their co-workers in a ditch, bound, gagged, raped, murdered. No arrests were ever made. To this day, Daniel struggles with PTSD. His deformed pupil is a permanent reminder of that night, of the horror that lurks in the deep woods. Some nights, he swears he still hears static through his radio, voices whispering just beneath the threshold of comprehension. Sometimes, he sees movement in the trees when he's alone. He doesn't go into the woods anymore. I haven't heard from my friend or his dad in years. I can only hope he's doing all right. But I know this. Somewhere out there in the endless black void of the forest, those men are still out there, watching, waiting, and they aren't done. They never were.